Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and I told you this, anytime we get an update around the Raiders head coaching search, around the Raiders GM search, I'm going to do my best to keep you guys intact. If you haven't seen the report from The Athletic, the report is this. There are multiple reports out there right now that the Raiders have zero interest in Deion Sanders to be their next head coach. The reason why this is an intriguing thing to talk about is because Sanders yesterday reached out to the Raiders, as reported by Vincent Bonsignore, and it was reported that Deion was very interested in the Raiders head coaching job. So, as promised, I'm going to go through. I'm going to give you all of my ideas around Deion. I'm going to go give you all of my ideas here around the Raiders head coaching search, but also I want to see how Raider Nation reacts. So, a lot of the things that you guys are going to see here on today's show, I'm actually live for the Bills and Broncos game. I told y'all I would go live for that, so make sure you're subscribed and tune in to all of our watch parties. Tomorrow morning, you can expect an updated Raiders head coaching candidate video because Mike Vrabel was just hired by the New England Patriots. So, we're going to get into the Deion news, and then I also want to see how Raider Nation is reacting to the update that we have zero interest in Deion Sanders. So, it came out from Jeremy Fowler, also Vic Tafur, also Tashan Reed, and I already said it on my live show, and I will stand on this. When you see a report come out from The Athletic, especially Vic Tafur, especially around coaches, you have to take it with a grain of salt. I do think Tashan Reed is I think Tashan is good at his job, but until somebody that I think with a little bit more connections, and again, Jeremy Fowler is a really good name to say, okay, maybe the Raiders really don't have any interest in Deion. I'll also say, though, maybe they're just saying that they don't have any interest in Deion to then really show a guy like Ben Johnson, hey, we are all in on you, because I do really think that the Raiders' number one guy that they want is the Lions offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson. And let's face it, like, you got to think of this as almost a situation kind of like your significant other. If you're sitting there and if you would never look at your wife or the person that you want to marry and say that, oh, yeah, I still have a little bit of interest in somebody else. Like, if the Raiders don't get Ben Johnson, I would love to be able to revisit, do they still have no interest in Deion? I like that Mark seems like he's doing the right thing here, and this to me is just one of those things of Mark is thinking with his head, and he's not thinking with his wallet, maybe for the first time ever. Because, let's face it, Deion Sanders brings in more money for Mark Davis than any other head coach that even has a pulse. I really, truly believe that, just based off of the money that Deion was able to generate for Colorado, the amount of eyeballs that would be able to be generated in Las Vegas if Deion's there. And I almost wonder, you go back, you look at a lot of the other past hirings that the Raiders have done. They've gone with the big name. They've gone with the guy with the biggest headline, the guy that's going to be able to drive up ticket prices the most. And I really think this year seems different because he's listening to Tom Brady. And instead of doing things that, let's be honest, if this would have been Mark Davis a few years ago and Deion would have said that, we all would have been like, oh, man, like, I really actually think that we might go out and do this. But I don't think, and I really do not think that it's going to happen. Now, this was something that I said a few weeks ago, that I do think that Deion is happy in Colorado, and he is happy in Colorado. But you can't blame a grown man. You can't blame a football coach. You can't blame a human being for wanting to coach their sons, right? Like, think about how many people, want to coach their kids. I can remember growing up when I was a kid, my Uncle Wayne was my baseball coach. My dad was my baseball coach. The reason why my dad is my best friend, I hit a home run in Little League. He missed it. Not Little League, T-ball. He missed it, and he ended up quitting his job to be able to hang out with me, to be able to coach my Little League team. Why? Parents want to be able to build that bond. Kids want to be able to build that bond. So I will not say anything around this because I don't blame him for wanting to go coach his kids. But I also got to give a shout-out to Mark Davis for being smart and not taking the bait, because Ben Johnson is a more qualified coach than Deion Sanders in the NFL. So let me know down below who's going to be the Raiders' next head coach. Let me know down below what you guys are thinking. I do still think that there might be a chance, only because I think the Raiders put out the proper report. You have zero interest in Deion Sanders because all of your attention right now better be on Ben Johnson. And then if it's not on Ben Johnson anymore, well, then I'm okay with the idea of revisiting the possibility of somebody like Deion Sanders. I like Steve Spagnuolo. Todd Monken hasn't interviewed yet. Aaron Glenn is a good candidate. I think Pete Carroll is the other big-name guy where if the Raiders don't get Ben Johnson, I do really think that they might look at a guy like Pete Carroll, who was hired by Jet Hughes before in Seattle. Today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks, and even though my Prize Picks didn't hit today, it's all good. If you want to go pick more, pick less, it's really that easy. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Make sure that you use code CLNS. All you got to do is pick more, you pick less. I promise you, it's really that easy. And game time. Prize Picks, excuse me. I love Prize Picks. Use code CLNS. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. The other thing that Prize Picks got going on right now is if they have like a special on Will Howard. I know that game is about 8 days away, but if you think that Will Howard's going to have more than one passing yard in the Natty, then go put a lineup in on Prize Picks right now. Let's go to Ron Raspberry, and as a reminder, we are still live here on the show. I know the Buffalo Bills game just got kicked off here in the second half. We'll go back to that, but my job here is still Raiders Report, and the Raiders come before even a game day. If it's true that we have zero interest in Deion and making it public, does that affect the chances of drafting Sanders? I don't really know if it impacts the chances. I would say this. If I was Shedeur, I would go, wow, y'all don't really want my dad. Maybe it makes me feel a little bit of a type of way or feels a little bit different. But I also think Deion is a professional, and Deion understands if they have a plan in progress. And if I'm Deion, I would actually take this and I'd go, okay, if you don't want me, but you still take Shedeur, you just got to put Shedeur in the best place. And I actually think Deion would say, I would rather Shedeur succeed in the NFL without me than not succeed in the NFL with me. Let's go to Sir Chai. What up, Sir Chai? Tom Brady could be a coach for the Raiders instead of an owner. He's not going to be a coach, but he is going to be, I think, somebody where you bring in a head coach and you could end up looking at something where you're like, Brady's the GM and head coach, doesn't get the GM title, but is also working with a head coach, and maybe you don't hire a GM, save Mark a few extra bucks. What up, that guy, Ryan? If the Raiders land Ben, then I would be fine with them drafting Sanders and sitting him behind AOC for a year. If that's the plan, that's the plan. I trust Ben Johnson. If Ben Johnson looks me dead in the eyes and he goes, I came here to coach Aiden O'Connell, I might question him a little bit, but I'm going to put my faith in Johnson because I think he's the best candidate overall. And if Ben Johnson and Tom Brady are aligned, I think that this team's going to be able to get on and align. And I think that also helps, a guy like Max Crosby. Max Crosby wants stability. And I think Ben Johnson's going to be able to provide stability. But I still want to be able to find another QB. What up, Calios? What are your opinions of Byron Leftwich returning to coaching? I would love for him to be able to join. Now, he's not going to be a head coach candidate. I think, unfortunately for him, he gets the Rooney Rule interview a lot, which is sad because he is qualified. But if the Raiders wanted to bring him as an OC, he was the OC of the Buccaneers the year Brady won the Super Bowl, and then, or even like a quarterback coach. I think he'd be a really good quarterback coach. John Bowles, what's up, man? Josh Allen, by the way, down the field, wide open, caught, first down, Bills. Let's go all the way down to the 30. John, if BJ is hired, trade Hendon Hooker, Genty, Higgins, use the draft and remaining salary cap on the needs. See, I don't think that this is a good idea simply because I don't want to have to give up draft capital to go out and get a Hendon Hooker. I think that you can find a Hendon Hooker, and I think that he's an overly unbelievable player because I think it's also going to cost you a third-round pick because if I'm Detroit, I would want something for my backup quarterback, especially if you're going to go put him with the OC who's been working with them. You got a lot of other good ideas in here, but the Raiders also, you got to give Max Crosby $35 million a year. So, that has to be in consideration. James Cook cuts up the middle, first down and goal here for the Bills. Andre Rader, if Ben Johnson isn't available, who's your next coaching candidate that the Raiders could hire? I would consider Liam Cohen. I like Liam Cohen a lot. I think he's a solid offensive-minded coach. He's a young guy. My fear, though, is if they don't get Ben Johnson, that they're going to look for somebody like Pete Carroll, and everybody that I talk to around Seattle is telling me that I shouldn't want Pete Carroll. What up, Eric M? What realistic quarterback do you think Ben Johnson wants? Shedeur. I think if the Raiders end up hiring Ben Johnson, Shedeur is going to be that number one option because I believe that that's the guy Tom Brady wants. And I really think that they believe that they're going to be able to get him. if Shador's camp comes out and says, because here's the thing, here's the other part of let's not freak out about Shador, and I say that because Deion Sanders wanted to coach the Raiders. In my mind, that tells me that Deion Sanders wants Shador Sanders to be a Raider. Deion has liked multiple of my videos before about me saying that Deion wants his kid to be a Raider. Deion has liked those videos with his own personal account. He has interacted with it. I know he watches the show. Oh, it's a bad run. He's able to get back to the line of scrimmage. But to me, Deion Sanders telling us that he's very interested in the job tells me that he wants his kid to play for the Raiders. So if that's the statement out there, and if he still wants his kid to play for the Raiders, I think there's a chance you get him at 6. Gutierrez, Justin Fields, Ashton Genty, and Ben Johnson. I mean, it would be an intriguing option all around. I would trust Ben Johnson to be able to get the most out of those players, though I don't know if Justin Fields would be his pick for a quarterback. If you told me Justin Fields, Ashton Genty, somebody not named Ben Johnson, I think Todd Monken could do some work there with that group. Now, again, y'all, if you haven't already, follow me on IG, follow me on Twitter, at Mitchell Renz 365, and make sure you pull up to our watch party. We're having some fun here. Bills, Broncos, Josh Allen, and the Bills are in the red zone. They're at the 9. Oh, they just got tackled, though, on 3rd down and goal. It's all good. Follow me. Hit me up. Any more Raiders head coaching news, I'll keep you up to date here on the Raiders Report.